Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Asheville Vedic Astrology YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology. I'm very happy to be able to present to you today videos related to the most important planetary combinations that you need to know, astrologically speaking. These videos were created by an Asheville Vedic Astrology apprenticeship student, one of her final projects, and what Anna has done is she's taken the Lajatati Avashtas and she has explained each combination of each Avashta for each planet. So they might not all be posted already, but please check the playlists tab for all of the videos for each of the planets so that you can learn these planetary combinations. The Lajatati Avashtas are an excellent way to understand how the chart is going to give its fruits. It's also an excellent way to understand how planets are being helped or hurt. Because sometimes you can have a difficult planet which is actually being helped by its friends, and so it's still able to produce that which it's meant to produce within the chart. In the same way that many people are confused when they have an exalted planet or a planet in a trine in good dignity, and it doesn't give the results that they expect that it would. Usually it's because of the combination of the Lajatati Avashtas, and maybe there are enemies of the planet hurting the planet, or the planet is in a difficult state. So this is a wonderful series of videos, and please take your time to study it. And for supplementary information on these videos, you can see the chapters in the book, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2. There you'll find written descriptions of these planets, and it can also give you more understanding about how to apply and see how the planets are functioning within your chart. So once again, I'm very happy to present this work of Anna, one of our really skilled astrological apprenticeship students. She's been at this for at least 4 years now, and this is one of her final projects. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this series of videos.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our series on the Lajatati Avashtas. In this video we're going to talk about the Lajatati Avashtas of Venus. So let's see what Venus is about. Venus is the planet of worldly fulfillment. It's our capacity to make fulfilling choices, to make choices that are going to lead to higher fulfillment. It's also our capacity for loyalty and devotion. It also represents luxuries, love, diplomacy, relationships. Venus is also the guru of the Azores. And so Venus is considered a counselor as well. Okay, so let's start with the Lajatati Avashtas of Venus. Mars shaming Venus. Okay, and when does this happen? It happens when Venus is with Mars in the 5th house, or when Venus is with Mars and Rahu or Ketu in any house. Okay, so this combination gives a lot of passion, especially when it's with Rahu. Rahu makes this passion go to extremes, and it ends up interfering with a person's life. Rahu is quite an obsessive planet, so they will be very obsessed with passion. So there'll be a lot of emphasis on sexuality, intimate relationships, and then they might feel a lack of fulfillment as well. Okay, so this could turn into sexual addictions or romantic affairs as well. Since they never feel fulfilled, that they're always going to look for more. Now, when Ketu is involved, there's going to be a need for sexual stimulation, like pornography. So they might be a little bit obsessed with something like that, and then feel a lot of guilt or shame around it. Mars can also create violent relationships, since it's the planet of aggression. And when it's not controlled, it can create a lot of violence. And then the person could feel shame about being abused or about abusing others even. People could become a little bit too impulsive in relationships, and they're not going to make good choices. Remember, Venus is about making good choices. So Mars is going to make Venus become a little bit too impulsive. Now, what happens when Saturn shames Venus? And this takes place when Venus is with Saturn in the 5th house, or when Venus is with Saturn plus Rahu or Ketu in any house. There will be lack of self-respect that shames the person inwardly, and they will not feel worthy of fulfillment, and then they might not make the right choices. They will not make choices that will be fulfilling for them. So Saturn is going to disrespect Venus, so that Venus cannot make the right choices. Then we've got Sun shaming Venus. And this happens when Venus is with the Sun in the 5th house, or when Venus is with the Sun and Rahu or Ketu in any house. So what happens when the Sun is shaming Venus? One's needs or desires are not validated by authority figures, so they're going to feel shame. They might not be able to ask for what they need. Again, those needs could be sexual or things to do with luxury, romantic, social things. They might not feel like they can ask for what they need. The Sun is going to be disrespecting Venus in this case, so they feel bad about trying to have those desires met. And then with Venus is with the Sun and Rahu or Ketu, and particularly if it happens in the 5th, which is our mind, improving our life, our past karma, there's going to be a lot of unconscious karma in this area, and they're going to feel stuck in negative karma. Now, proud or Garvita Venus. This happens when Venus is exalted in Pisces, or when Venus is in its Mula Chikona sign, and that's 0 to 15 degrees of Libra. Now, what happens when Venus is proud? Well, Venus is going to feel like they've made the best possible choices. They're going to be very proud about maintaining relationships well, and they will feel like life is really fulfilling. They'll be very happy about the decisions they've made. Even when there's a difficult childhood, they still feel like the best things happened for them. So that's the key. They feel like things happened for them and not to them. And they tend to have a good quality of life because they also make good choices. Now, Saturn starving Venus. That's when Saturn is conjunct Venus. So there will be lack of self-worth to maintain healthy relationships. And they will demand more than is deserved, or they will pay too high a price in the relationship. So Saturn will ask for too much, or will make them lose their self-worth and their self-esteem in relationships. Okay, the next one is the moon starving Venus. And this happens when Venus is in Cancer, or when Venus is conjunct the moon, or when Venus is aspected by the waxing moon. Because when it's aspected by a waning moon, that's going to be agitation. Okay. When the moon is starving Venus, remember that the moon is our ego needs. Okay, it's our individualized consciousness. It's those things about our personality that show what we need. So a person with this combination is going to demand that all their needs be met through relationships. So they're not going to take care of their own needs, and they're going to rely on others too much in order to be happy. And so there's a real danger of codependent relationships, as they don't have a healthy sense of autonomy. They're also too focused on their needs. They're too self-centered for relationships. So their relationships will not be fair. They will just expect others to make them happy, and there will not be a balance in relationships. So too centered on their own needs. Now the sun starving Venus. This happens when Venus is in the sign of the sun in Leo, or when Venus is aspected by the sun. And remember that if it's conjunct the sun, that would be agitation, which we'll talk about later. Now the sun is our ambition, our goals, our status, and even sacrifice and commitment. Okay, so what happens with this combination is that people could have very big ambitions, and those ambitions would take them away from fulfilling relationships, as they might sacrifice the relationship for their goals or their status. They will give a lot more importance to that goal and that ambition that they're after. And that ambition would be the sun instead of the relationship that they're in. For example, it could be a person that works for an NGO, and that's their goal, that's their ambition, that's what they want to do in life. So they will actually not give that much importance to their relationships because their ambition is a lot more important than those relationships. So they have a strong vision of who they are, and it's more important than people in their lives. The sun would prefer ambition to relationships, even being alone if the relationship doesn't support their goal. Okay, of course, let's remember that we need to look at the chart as a whole in order to make an assessment as well, because there could be other aspects in the chart that show that they're capable of relationship as well. Okay, but that would be the general idea of the sun starving Venus. Now, thirsty Avashta Venus, and this happens when Venus is aspected by the moon or sun in water signs. Okay, so in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. And it's a bit like starvation that we just talked about, but not as strong, but it's still a little bit uncomfortable. Now, Saturn delighting Venus. This happens when Venus is in Capricorn or Aquarius, or when Venus is aspected by Saturn. And remember that if Venus is conjunct Saturn, that will be starvation. Okay, so what we need is Venus aspected, Graha aspected by Saturn in order to have delight. Okay, so this delight will give fulfillment on one's chosen path. They're going to feel content about their path. Saturn's a very realistic planet, so it's going to give the native very realistic expectations, and they're going to be happy with what life brings. These people usually accept that hardships are just part of life, that there's going to be ups and downs in life. They just get on with it, and they accept them as part of their journey. So it's quite easy to relate to and be in a relationship with somebody with Saturn delighting Venus. Saturn might still cause a little bit of anguish or delay in relationships, but they will actually appreciate the relationship. They will be very realistic about relationships. So even if there are problems, they will actually work through them and be in the relationships for the long run. Jupiter delighting Venus, and this happens when Venus is conjunct Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is going to be it's going to give expansive fulfillment and opportunities for Venusian luxuries. Okay, so it could give wealth, could give a lot of luxuries. It can also give capacity to find happiness for a greater sense of purpose and ease to find meaning through the joys of the world. Okay, so the person will actually find meaning through very worldly things, and that could be relationships, it could be luxuries, now when Venus starves Jupiter, okay, so let's remember that Jupiter delights Venus, but Venus starves Jupiter at the same time. Venus is Rajasic, okay, so it can give too much focus on pleasures. This can be the danger of having Jupiter and Venus together. So when the natives run in a Venus-Jupiter dasha, the delight's gonna be felt. But when they're running a Jupiter-Venus dasha, the starvation is going to be felt more, as Venus is going to be starving Jupiter. Whereas in the Venus-Jupiter dasha, Jupiter is going to be the one helping Venus, delighting Venus. So we always look at the sublord of the dasha, and that's the one that's going to affect the dasha lord. Now, Mercury delighting Venus. This happens when Venus is in Gemini or Virgo, Mercury signs, or when Venus is conjunct Mercury, or when Venus is aspected by Mercury. Now remember that Mercury is our capacity to do good research and to find the best option possible. Okay, so the native will have very good research ability, and this would lead to very good decisions. They'll be good at managing others, at relating to others, managing the affairs of life, and even making positive changes. So this is a very good placement for business. Now, people with Mercury delighting Venus can also be fun, imaginative, creative, as Venus is also an indicator for art, for creativity, for beauty. But there's just one thing that they should be a little bit careful about. As Mercury and Venus are Rajasic planets, so this could cause the person to be a little bit too Rajasic and to look for the next thing constantly. Okay, so for example, if this placement occurs in the 7th house, this could lead to them having many sexual partners, and then they would get easily bored. Even in the 8th house, this could give a lot of sexual partners. So they could be a little bit too addicted to that feeling of looking for the next best thing, basically. So this depends on the house it's in, okay? So when one has Saturn delighting Venus, it's a better placement for longer lasting relationships. As the relationships are going to be more mature, Saturn will give that stability. Okay, then we've got Sun agitating Venus. And this happens when Venus is conjunct the Sun. So the Sun is going to make somebody with the Sun agitating Venus sacrifice the fulfilling aspects of life and relationships. And then they will feel a little bit angry about having to make that sacrifice. Okay, so remember that the Sun is authority figures. Okay, so there might be an authority figure who's not going to let you enjoy those Venusian aspects of life, such as relationships or luxury. And then we've got the waning moon agitating Venus. Okay, this happens when the waning moon is aspecting Venus. Okay, remember that Venus has two enemies, the Sun and the Moon. Okay, and when the Moon is acting as a cruel planet, when it's a waning moon, and it's aspecting Venus, then it's gonna cause agitation. Okay, if it's a waxing moon, then that will cause starvation, not agitation. Okay. So what happens when the waning moon is agitating Venus? Well, the person will expect relationships to meet all their needs. They will want the other person to do everything to meet their needs. They will be a little bit too demanding. And they might even get what they need, but it will never be enough for them. So they will feel like the relationships can never give them enough fulfillment, even if that relationship is accommodating. Okay, so their ego needs will play against their fulfillment. So it's important for people with this placement to learn to see that a relationship is not going to give you all the fulfillment that you should look for that within yourself. Okay, and we've come to the end of the Lagitari Avashtas of Venus. And in our next video, we're going to discuss the Lagitari Avashtas of Saturn. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for listening.